People barely noticed her at first. She sat quietly near the entrance of the upscale shopping plaza, wrapped in an oversized gray coat, her hair tucked under a worn beanie. Her shoes were scuffed, her bag old, and her hands rough from the cold nights she spent sleeping wherever she could find shelter. Her name was Naomi Carter. To most people walking by, she was just another homeless black woman, invisible, forgettable, easy to ignore. But when Naomi finally stood up and walked into Lux & Co., one of the most expensive fashion stores in the city, everything changed. The store went quiet. Soft jazz music continued playing, but conversations stopped. Customers slowly turned their heads. A pair of young women near the handbags glanced at Naomi, then at each other and smirked. "Is she lost?" One whispered, not quietly enough. Another giggled. "Maybe she thinks it's a shelter." Naomi heard every word. She didn't react. She walked slowly between racks of designer coats, running her fingers lightly over the fabric. The warmth felt good. The smell of new clothes reminded her of another life, one she rarely allowed herself to remember. A sales associate approached her, forcing a polite smile. "Ma'am," the woman said, eyes scanning Naomi from head to toe, "this store caters to a higher-end clientele." Naomi met her gaze calmly. "I know," she replied. The associate's smile tightened. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable somewhere else." That's when the laughter started. A well-dressed man near the counter chuckled openly. "This is ridiculous," he said. "Anyone can just walk in here now?" Another customer pulled out her phone, pretending to text, but clearly recording. Naomi felt the heat of humiliation creep up her neck, not because she doubted herself, but because she knew this moment too well. Still, she walked to the counter. "I'd like to buy this coat," she said softly, placing a simple black designer coat on the counter. The cashier raised an eyebrow. "That one is $12,000, she said flatly. "I know," Naomi replied. The laughter grew louder. "Does she think money grows in pockets?" Someone joked. The cashier sighed dramatically. "Ma'am, if you can't pay, you're wasting everyone's time." Naomi slowly reached into her bag. The room leaned in, expecting excuses, embarrassment, maybe tears. What they got instead would silence them all. Naomi's fingers brushed against cool metal. She pulled out a golden credit card, not gold-colored, solid, metallic, heavy. The laughter died instantly. The cashier stared, confused. "What is that?" she asked. Naomi placed the card gently on the counter. The soft clink echoed louder than any laugh that had come before. "I'll take the coat," Naomi said, "and the scarf." A pause, then another. The cashier hesitated before picking up the card. Her eyes widened as she turned it over, reading the name engraved into it. Her hands started to shake. One moment," she said quickly, disappearing toward the manager's office. The customers whispered now. No more laughter, just confusion, unease. The manager rushed out moments later, his face pale. "Ms. Carter?" he asked carefully. Naomi nodded. The manager's posture instantly changed. "Welcome back," he said, forcing a smile. "We didn't recognize you." Naomi said nothing. The manager turned sharply to the staff. "Process her purchase immediately, and please offer her refreshments." The same people who had laughed earlier now avoided eye contact. The man who joked earlier suddenly found the floor fascinating. As the transaction went through, the cashier's screen flashed approved, no limit. The manager leaned closer. "Ms. Carter, if there's anything you need," Naomi finally spoke. "I need people to stop deciding who I am by how I look." Silence. She picked up the coat and draped it over her arm. Before leaving, she turned back. "You laughed because you thought I had nothing," she said calmly. "But I lost something once, not money." The words hung in the air. And suddenly, everyone wanted to know who she really was. Outside the store, Naomi paused. The automatic glass doors slid shut behind her with a soft hiss, cutting off the whispers, the stares, the sudden respect that had come too late. The cold air brushed against her face, but this time it didn't feel cruel. It felt grounding, real. She stood there for a moment, holding the coat over her arm, the golden credit card already back inside her bag, hidden again, like it had been for years. People passing by slowed down, some glancing at her with curiosity. A few moments ago, those same people wouldn't have looked twice. Now, they wondered. Naomi exhaled slowly. 10 years earlier, she had been standing in a very different place, the top floor of a glass tower downtown, overlooking the city she once believed she owned. Back then, Naomi Carter wasn't invisible. She was respected, sought after, quoted in business magazines as one of the sharpest financial minds of her generation. Then came the collapse. A trusted partner forged documents. A lawsuit followed. Her reputation was destroyed before the truth ever surfaced. The company folded. Investors vanished. Friends disappeared. The city that once praised her turned silent. Naomi lost her penthouse, her office, her sense of safety. But she didn't lose everything. Long before the fall, she had been careful. Diversified accounts, international investments, long-term trusts placed quietly under her mother's name, money she never touched. money she never flaunted, money she never needed to prove anything. For a long time, Naomi drifted, not because she had to, but because she needed to understand something deeper. She wanted to know how people treated you when they believed you had nothing. She slept in shelters. She sat on cold benches. She watched people avoid her eyes, clutch their bags tighter, cross streets to avoid walking past her. And she learned some people offered food without asking questions. Some offered kind words. Others offered laughter. Inside the store, the manager stood frozen near the counter, replaying the moment in his head, the laughter, the assumptions, the embarrassment he now carried like a stain. He finally rushed outside. "Ms. Carter," he called. Naomi turned slowly. The man swallowed hard. "Please, accept our apology. That should never have happened." Naomi studied his face, not with anger, but with calm clarity. "You're right," she said. "It shouldn't have." She gestured gently toward the store behind him. "But it will," she continued, "again and again, to people who don't have a gold card to prove their worth." The manager opened his mouth, then closed it. "I don't want free items," Naomi added. "I don't want special treatment." She met his eyes. "I want you to remember how easily you laughed." She turned away. Across the street, a young black girl stood holding her mother's hand, eyes wide. She had seen the whole thing, the mocking, the silence, the sudden respect. Naomi noticed her. She walked over and knelt slightly so they were eye level. "Never let anyone tell you who you are," Naomi said softly. "Not by how you look, not by what you wear." The girl nodded, absorbing every word. Naomi stood, adjusted the coat over her arm, and walked into the crowd. Not as a homeless woman, not as a wealthy investor, but as someone who had seen the world clearly. The golden credit card stayed hidden, because the real power wasn't in pulling it out. It was in knowing she never had to again.